Well, happy Saturday to you all. This is Storm Track 7 meteorologist Robbie coming to you. In this week's edition of Weather Wonders, we're going to be looking at just some of the basic weather patterns that we look at as meteorologists and that impact portions of the country and even here at home in eastern Iowa. If you notice behind me, got lots of different weather conditions that we would experience, again, through all the different months, summer, spring, winter, fall, of course. That's what we're looking at, but what's the reason behind all this? What are the different weather patterns that at least lead to these types of weather? And we're going to be focusing more so on some wintry weather patterns. So let's dive into it right now. We're going to start off here, again, with just some basics. A trough versus a ridge. And of course, right in the middle, you see the jet stream. That's just basically this narrow band of strong winds that typically blow west to east in general. So what you see here, this dip in the jet stream, dip to the south, this is a trough. It's typically associated by, we'll call it, elongated area of lower pressure. And typically what you see accompanying troughs are cloudy conditions, cooler conditions, maybe some unsettled weather, whether that be rain or snow. Now, on the eastern side of the country that you see here in this example, you see a bit of a bulge in the jet stream to the north. That's associated with this ridge, or again, this big blue ace that we've talked about many times before. It's an area of high pressure, or at least an elongated area of relatively higher pressure. And typically, under a ridge, you get calmer conditions, quiet conditions, typically sunny conditions and dry conditions. So that's the gist of it. That's exactly what we see here. Again, replacing both the low pressure and the high pressure, of course, cool and unsettled weather with areas of low pressure, warm and dry weather, or calm conditions, you could call it, under areas of ridging. Now, in terms of more specific patterns, there are two different ones that I want to go over here. One's called a zonal flow. This is that right here. We'll also go over what's called a meridional flow. So basically, to start off, zonal, know it as flat flow from west to east. Notice that there aren't really any bulges in the jet stream. It goes from west to east. So the cooler air, of course, closer to the poles, stays to the north. Warmer air stays to the south of the jet stream, in this case, of course, being closer to the tropical air. Now, with this, again, if you don't see any bulges in the jet stream, no ridges, no troughs, the warm air and cold air never mix. They can never clash. And if you're going to be seeing storm systems develop, you need to have this warm air and cold air crash. They need to mix together. So in this case, with a zonal flow or a flat flow, you don't see any major storm systems develop, which is something we've seen, again, across most of eastern Iowa as of late. Now, here's the other one, meridional flow. This is called a bumpy flow. As you can see, with that first example you call it, this is a trough, of course, cooler air filtering in behind it. And then this is a ridge on the eastern side of the country, warmer air. Now, it just depends, again, on the shape of the trough and the ridge and the jet stream in general. But if you get this warm air and this cooler air to mix, you can get an actual surface area of low pressure that develops storms, or maybe a snowstorm in the winter case, of course, that could develop, again, just depending on where the pattern sets up. And this is the type of storm that you would see. Again, just as an example for a wintertime type of pattern. We could get some snow here in eastern Iowa, maybe some severe weather down to the south in southeastern Missouri, for example, just to paint a picture of what we're talking about by actually allowing the warm air and cold air to mix in more of that meridional flow. Now, there's also a special and unique kind of system, cutoff flows. They're also known as weatherman woes because they're pretty tricky to forecast. They can be. But just know that the gist of it, they're just areas of low pressure that are cut off from the parent flow. So as you can see, it's the north and west, Pacific Northwest. This is a trough, but it does cut off. Again, it's just a cut-off area of low pressure. Very slow moving and can produce some very unsettled weather. We see that every now and then as well. But with that, this is really just all that we see in terms of the basic weather patterns across the country. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, or you can check out more of the details on SNAC's weather blog, kwwl.com under the weather tab. Stick around. We'll be right back.